So, hey, it's Hunter Bolding. I'm here with that hashtag show, and we are here with the director of The Toxic Avenger, Macon Blair. Macon, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you as well. So let's just jump right in. This is sort of one of the best examples of like actual film fans pushing for something and trying to get something made. I remember hearing about your film long before it actually got its theatrical release. It had like a couple screenings and then it just went
Yep.
silent.
Yep.
What was it like to actually get this film out into theaters and so that people could see it and enjoy it?
Oh my God, it was thrilling. I mean, I always had hope that it would find an audience. I know Legendary had been working very hard to connect with the right partner. And if I'm being honest, it got a little nerve-wracking in the intervening time, just because I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen. And we had those nice screenings, and then it kind of, as you said, it went silent for a while. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but on the other side of that, I'm very happy to have landed with Cinescape, and if waiting those 2 years is what it took to get with a partner like that who were able to give it a theatrical release and a really enthusiastic campaign, then it was totally worth it. So I'm really happy with how things have ended up on the other side of it.
So just go through how this sort of all came together with your journey to getting to directing this film. Obviously, I was at Comic-Con and I saw the famous passing of the mop moment from
Oh, right,
Lloyd
right.
Kaufman.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what was that like to get the mop passed to you from such like a famous and just awesome director for, film fans out there? And how did you sort of make your way to directing The Toxic Avenger?
To go in reverse, it started out as an offer to pitch to write the screenplay, and that sort of evolved into the directing job. But at first, it was just Legendary was soliciting pitches for the screenplay. And for me, I was a little hesitant at first, but it was a movie that really made a huge impact on me when I was a much younger kid, and it sort of influenced how we started making movies. It was one of the first examples of independent filmmaking that I could remember seeing, and we kind of took a lot of that into the movies that we were trying to make when we were, 13, 14 years old. And it seemed like an opportunity to kind of go back to those movies that we made back then, but with the machinery of a big Hollywood studio behind it. So that was an exciting opportunity and a bit of a challenge, but I was delighted to be there. And to end up on that stage at Comic-Con with Lloyd and the whole mop and everything like that, it was very surreal. And to be honest, like I don't feel like, I mean, the Toxic Avenger will always be Lloyd's baby, so I don't know about passing any mop. It was a nice symbolic moment, but I kind of consider myself to be part of a larger team that does work with this character, but it will always be his and Michael's baby.
So there's news. I think it was a couple weeks ago or around the time of the release of the film that they erased $5 million in medical debt with the help of this film and people working, and now it's up to $15 million.
Yeah.
The subplot in the film about the whole like, health insurance is hell, basically. Was that always something that you wanted to include in the film, or was that something that you added in sort of later drafts of the script or in sort of pre-production or something like that?
No, it was something pretty early on. I mean, I think part of the idea with this version of the movie was to take enough of the spirit and the tone of the original without sort of redoing beat for beat the exact plot points. And so in the original, it's, they're dumping toxic waste, and that's sort of a big thing to fight against along the way. And I felt like there's an aspect of that in this, but I wanted to give Toxie a different sort of systemic challenge that he could fight against, in addition to all the fun street gangs and street level bad guys that he can physically fight, but a larger sort of system that he could go up against. And that one seemed like one very early on that would be formidable and indomitable and something that people could relate to. So, um, yeah, that was in the drafts from kind of from the beginning, I would say. But that whole campaign that Cineverse came up with, and I wish I could take credit for it, but I had nothing to do with it. I'm very proud to be associated with it, but that was Cineverse, and that was the charity that works really hard to undo medical debt for people. And I thought that was a great use of marketing resources, and was really thrilled with that idea when they came out with it.
It's definitely awesome to see that, people are getting just medical debt taken away because of Toxie in some way, shape, or form. When you were writing the script and sort of going through what you wanted to do with it, because obviously writing a remake or a reimagining, you don't want to just copy the original because
Right.
then what's the point? You want to add
Exactly.
your own flavor. You want to modernize it for a sort of new audience. You did that with the design of the character, where Toxie looks not drastically different, but different enough to where people can go, oh, that's the remake, that's the original.
Right.
And obviously there have been, more money put in and changes in sort of makeup and design and stuff like that. But what went into the design of the new and improved Toxie for this film?
We went around the block a lot with it and had a bunch of different versions, and some were actually much more goopy and decayed and sort of inhuman. And we started to wonder if, like, given how we really wanted this people to feel like connected and feel this affection for this character, and so we started to steer away from making him too horrific looking. And we came back to something that I was kind of thinking, like, if we take the original idea where he's got the one messed up eye and he's got the blisters and everything like that, and kind of blended it with the way he looked in the cartoon, and then also blended it with Peter's facial features so it would be consistent with the human version of the character at the top of the movie. And that's kind of where we came up with, but it was a lot of sort of trial and error and different designs by different artists, but kind of wanted something that would be have kind of like a classical, like 50s monster kind of look, like an Astro Creep type of look, you know, and something that could be kind of likable and fun and like a little monstrous, but not too hideous or scary. And so that's sort of how we ended up where we did.
Well, the design of it looks perfect. It is just sort of the best, like you said, the best of both worlds of that classic design, that new design, and that sort of 50s monster movie design as well. Just because we've got a couple minutes left here, let's just do a couple rapid fire ones here.
Yeah.
Was Peter Dinklage always your first choice to play Toxie, or did you have something else in mind when you were writing it, or what went into that?
When I was writing it, he was not who I was thinking of. I knew him a little bit, and we were sort of in touch about some other scripts. And I actually had the idea early on that he might be interesting for the bad guy. And
Mhm.
then very early on in the casting process, it just occurred to me that he would be so much more interesting and fun as Toxie. And I didn't know if he would say yes or not, but I thought it was worth a shot. And so we just switched up, and that's what we did. And it turns out he was a big fan of the original from back in the day, and it was an easy yes for him. I didn't know it at the time, but that's how it
It
ended up.
that choice seemed so strange when I saw it, like when I saw the cast, and then when I saw the film finally, I was like, oh, it just works so goddamn well, like it's crazy. So the soundtrack for the film, there is a big section with Overkill by Motorhead.
Yeah.
I heard Hall of the Mountain King by Savatage as well in there at some point.
Yep.
Uh, what went into the choices on the soundtrack, and was it just, I love Savatage, I love Motorhead or whatever, but
Kind
or
of.
was it something else?
No, it was kind of just stuff that I liked. I wanted a big sort of rock showcase moment for Toxie when he goes to the concert. In truth, that was originally I was trying to get a Danzig song, but the Danzig team wanted editorial control, and we were kind of like, no, we can't really do that.
That's
And so then
okay.
it occurred to me, I was like, but it should have been Motorhead all along because of Lemmy's sort of history with trauma. So
hmm
I'm a believer that the way it ends up in the movie is what it was always meant to be, and so In hindsight, I should have gone with Motorhead in the first place. But yeah, and then the other ones that there's Judas Priest is in there. It was just songs that I liked and I felt were right for the tone of the movie. I mean, we kind of thought of Winston as being an aging former metalhead, so it was kind of like music that he would have listened to when he was a younger person.
That's awesome. I love hearing about the choices on soundtracks for films because obviously I've written, I have a couple scripts, and so you're sitting there writing, and you're going, "Hey, man, this might be a good song to go put in here," and then you kind of like leave a little note or leave a little mental note for it. So I love that the songs that you love actually made it into the film and everything.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up here, um, the film uh, is wonderful. It's amazing. Just the way the look of the film, like the actual shots and the shot composition, what went into the look and the design of just how the film looks, because it has a very specific look of it looks like it's a trauma film, but it looks like it's a trauma film that has like more money and thought put behind it. Not to say that trauma films don't, but it looks like a trauma film got upgraded. So what went into like sort of the design of everything on screen?
A really brilliant cinematographer named Dana Gonzalez. He's working on Alien Earth right now. A really great production designer named Alex Cameron, who built the world out, and Vanessa Porter, a really great costume designer who dressed everybody. And we all sort of had the operating principle that we would try to. So with shooting, we tried to sort of not artificially limit ourselves, but to not do anything that seemed too extravagant. We wanted it to feel like it was people that got a camera with a tripod and went out on their street and shot the movie. We violate that rule in a couple of places, but for the most part, we wanted it to have kind of that homegrown texture to it, and that's the way that we painted the buildings, and that's the way that we put the clothes on the people too, was to sort of give it a little bit of that vibe of it having been made by hand and it having been made with limited resources and that's sort of that's part of the affection that we have for the original and what we wanted to carry over to this one, that it would have that texture to it. And so we talked about that a lot in terms of how it was going to be shot and how it was going to be designed and that sort of thing. We wanted it to have that sort of homemade feel. And when you kind of go in with that operating principle and then you've got really great collaborators and kind of let them do their thing, it sort of takes on its own shape and it goes beyond that original idea in some cases, but that was sort of how we talked about the world and how we wanted to photograph it.
Well, thank you so much. The world you've built in this film is beautiful and gooey and gross and all of the above. So you can check out the Toxic Avenger at home and you can watch it digitally. I know it's coming out in a new box set with the other original films. So thank you, Macon, for your time.
Oh, thanks, man. It was nice talking to you.